Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show on this Wednesday, the 4th of September, 2024. Thank you for tuning in. You know, the BRICS nations over there, China, Russia, North Korea, now Erdogan is getting ready to join the BRICS, Turkey. Going to be talking about that in this article. But the BRICS nations over there, they're watching over here and they're thinking to themselves, well, there's been a lot of talk about civil war or whatever. Or at least terrible bad unrest or whatever. There's been a lot of talk about that in the United States, especially concerning this election. I just imagine to myself that they're over there and they're thinking to themselves, hey, you know what? They're probably thinking, hey, it would save us a lot of trouble if the United States just disintegrates on its own. That's probably their way of thinking. Let's just face it. Let's face the truth of what they're probably thinking over there. They're probably thinking to themselves, hey, you know, if the United States just falls apart on its own, and they're probably thinking the best time for that is in around the elections. That's probably what they're thinking. Now, I'm just trying to think like them, but that's what I think they would be thinking. And of course, they'd be waiting for that. And of course, they wouldn't want to make any false moves too much on this side. If the whole thing is just going to fall in their direction, everything's going to work out for them if they just wait a little while. And they're probably thinking that. That's what I'm thinking. Anyway, that being said, they're going to do what they can. You know that they'll do what they can to help it along. You know? But what do I think the odds are of the United States falling into a civil war and civil unrest and all that kind of stuff surrounding the elections? I think things are bad. I think things are really bad. I think the two political parties in the United States are really, really divided. And I just don't know. But maybe it's my bias, my normalcy bias, that makes me think that it's probably not going to pan out that way. I'm thinking it's probably going to end up being a smooth transition of power, or maybe not quite so smooth, but still a transition of power. I tend to think that it's not going to blow up into a civil war, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's just my bias, my normalcy bias. You know, I mean, but I think that they're probably sitting back and you know, Russia's been attacked awful hard lately by Ukraine. They've been dropping bombs deep inside Russia and everything, and Russia's just kind of like, I don't think that the BRICS nations want to really make waves right now. I don't think they want to get something started. We've seen Israel do attacks. And we seen Iran was very upset, but we haven't seen the major attack come from Iran. We see Russia, we see them very upset. Ukraine has invaded their territory even and dropping bombs on them and everything, but we don't see any nukes flying in the air or anything like that, do you? They're absorbing it. I'm just thinking, hey, you know, something's in the works. I don't know exactly what it is, but something's going on. Now, Erdogan's Turkey is talking about becoming they're already a NATO member, and they're requesting to join the BRICS alongside China, India, and Russia. Says Turkey has submitted a request to join the BRICS group of major emerging market nations. It would be the first NATO member in the group, which itself sees itself as a counterweight to the Western-led global order. I get a kick out of that. I mean, come on. They're the only country on earth that's going to be on both sides at the same time. Talk about having one foot on one side of the fence and one foot on the other side of the fence. Now, we got a tight race in the United States between Kamala Harris and between Donald Trump. And they're saying that this race is too close to call. You know? It's interesting. Anyway, I mean, I'm not even going to try to put a bet on which way this will go. I wouldn't at this point. It's just so close and everything, and goodness knows which way it will swing. I'll tell you what, just one wrong statement by either one of these presidential candidates, because we have such a flaky society nowadays. We have the what I call it, the TikTok society out there, and one mistake and one wrong word this way or one wrong, and believe me, the opposing candidates are looking for that, and they're trying to make something of nothing in order to, but the real, what do you call it when somebody makes a wrong statement or something and accidentally something slips out of their mouth, that could swing this presidency at this point, because we live in such a superficial TikTok society, and word can spread so quick across the internet. So I'll tell you one thing about it. Both of these candidates better be very careful what they say, because the other candidate's watching and listening to every single word on both sides. It works both ways. So this is because it's such a close race. And goodness knows which way this is going to go, guys. We haven't got much time left before it's going to be decided. Now, this is what I'm talking about with the BRICS and everything, They do have their claws on this side of the pond. It says, look at this. Former aide to two New York governors charged with being an agent of the Chinese government. It says a former aide to two New York governors was charged Tuesday with acting as an illegal agent to the Chinese government, who used her state positions to subtly, in other words, not open in the open with it, but very, very carefully behind the scenes, using their state position to advance Beijing's agendas in exchange for financial benefits. How much is this going on? Because if you find it in one little spot, there's probably a whole rotten network underneath the surface that you don't see this is going on. And like I say, they're sitting over there and they're wanting us to fall apart. So what is this Beijing's agenda? What is their agenda? Well, we don't know. We don't know what their agenda is. But it's not to make us stronger, I guarantee you that. I can almost guarantee you that. It's not in our benefit. Russia's warning against the United States crossing red lines with these new JASSM missiles. Evidently, these JASSM missiles, there's a lot of talk about them, and the storm shadows. Evidently, they're very potent, and they can go very long distance, and they can do tremendous destructive damage. So Russia's warning the United States. They're saying about these crossing of red lines. And, an awful lot. I've been listening. I got my ear to the ground, guys, and I hear it. An awful lot of these people out there are saying, as far as Russia's red lines concerned, they're saying, what red lines? Because they've crossed a few now. Nothing's happened. They're getting emboldened. And now these JASSM missiles are going to be heading over there, it looks like to me. It says Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov issued a stern warning to the United States on Wednesday, cautioning against any moves to supply Ukraine with long-range missiles, because it says it'll undermine the delicate balance that's going on. And it says it's disregarding Russia's red lines could have dangerous consequences, according to Moscow. What was said here? It says, was this said by Lavrov? It's quoted by somebody. It says, I would not be surprised by anything at this point. The Americans have already crossed thresholds that they've set for themselves, Lavrov said. Yeah, so that was Lavrov that said that. And I remember back toward the start of the war, there was things that the Americans said, well, we can't do that because it'll start World War III. We can't cross that red line. It says, he also went on to say, they are toying with our red lines, and this is no laughing matter, he says. Now, in Ukraine, they've invented this drone. I was watching film of it. I wish I could play the film for you guys here of this drone that they got in Ukraine. But it flies along, and it pours, quite literally pours, hot thermite down on whatever's underneath it as it flies along. And pouring hot thermite. Lights everything on fire. It reminds, when I watched this, what it reminded me of what was going on back during the Korean War. Was it the Korean War or the war in Vietnam? I can't remember which. No, it was Vietnam. It's Vietnam. I think it was, where they were using something called, what was it called? It wasn't hot thermite. It was napalm. That's what it was, something called napalm. Similar result to pouring hot thermite. It's all similar. These are all similar type weapons, where you pour. It goes all the way back, heck, in the Middle Ages. I mean, they had castles and stuff, and they'd have a big hot pot full of boiling hot whatever that they would pour down over the walls on the enemy. It's a similar idea. Now, let's take a look at our prices of our if I can get my page to open up. I don't know why these ads are so blinking slow to disappear. Anyway, live charts on the silver right now. It's up 10 cents at 28.11. It is kind of treading water right now for the next little while. I think it's going to tread water up until around the election time. Now, Bank of Canada just lowered their rate. And this is the second time. Bang, bang. They've lowered their rate like that. Bang, bang. That is an indicator, big indicator to me, toward the central bank in the United States. They're all in together, these central banks. They all know what the other ones are doing and stuff. And the Canadian central bank won't be lowering their basis point by two drops. Unless I think that the United States Central Bank is going to start lowering fast as well, very soon. Very soon. Probably, very, very soon, they're probably going to start. And this is going to continue. And as the economy starts to slump, both in Canada and the United States, and I think it's going to, I think we can probably look for a little market fall off when they start lowering rates in the United States, the Federal Reserve. But the thing about it is everything's going to start turn downward. And they're going to increase the speed that they lower rates. And then they're going to get desperate toward the end of the rate cut cycle. And we're probably going to see the first time negative. So we've already seen in the United States ZIRP, zero interest rate policy. We've already seen that. But we've never seen NIRP, negative interest rate policy. So I think that's what we're going to see for the first time ever. Taking a look at our cryptos today, we're seeing Bitcoin at 57,787, Ethereum at 24.54, and XRP at 55.9 cents. So I think crypto's treading water a little bit too. Now the stock market today, the Dow's up 30 points at 40,967. The S&P is down 5 points, or 4.45 points, at 5,524. And we're looking at crude oil down 41 cents, and it's broke down below the $70 mark. It's at 69.93. And we're witnessing this at the pumps. Up here in Canada, I guess it was about a month or so ago, the price was $1, my pumps right here. It was $1.74 per liter. Now, the Canadian dollar is only worth 70 cents. So you got to knock, that 30% difference, $1.74 a liter it was, and now it's 160 a liter. So it's dropped like 14 cents over the past month or so here in Canada. But what is that per gallon? $1.60 a liter is what it is here right now. Let me see, there's 4 liters to a gallon. 160, that's 320, that's 640. $6.40 Canadian money per gallon, $6.40. But then you have to knock 30% off of that, roughly, to get the difference between the American and Canadian currency. So 640 minus roughly 30 cents. 30%, I mean. 640 minus 30%. What is that? If I can't figure that in my head real quick, probably around $5 a gallon, I would imagine. Am I figuring about right? $5 a gallon? What's it in the States right now? About $4 and change, or around $4. A little bit cheaper in the States than it is here. Gas. But they have this thing up here called a thermally adjusted liter. They call it the TAL. And they adjust it during temperatures. I think it's like adjusted to like 60 or 70 degrees or something like that. They have a certain temperature they adjust it to. But here it's cold most of the year, and things shrink when they're cold. So it's adjusted at a warmer temperature, and then when we have cold most of the year, because we're in Canada for crying out loud, the gasoline shrinks a certain degree, a certain amount. Not a lot. When it's cold, it wouldn't shrink a lot. But whatever they can get. Whatever they can figure out. It's a thermally adjusted. They adjust it to a certain temperature, year-round temperature anyway. So it would work to your advantage, in the hottest day in the summer, you would get a little bit more. Now let's take a look at our bonds and rates today, if I can get the page to come in. I have to refresh the page. Yeah, it's their advertising. They always want money. Everybody nowadays, people. You ever notice this? If you're a person, like say over 50, you'll notice what I'm talking about is, as time is progressing forward, the ones out there who are looking to make a quick buck, there's more and more of them, and they're getting greedier and greedier. And they're looking for new and faster and newer scams all the time. It didn't used to be so bad that way, back when people were more happy to go to their 9-to-5 job. But now that the society is starting to devolve, is starting to get people out there are starting to get greedier and greedier, and there's more and more scams out there. They're assaulting you on your email box. They're assaulting you on your programs that you watch or whatever. They'll interrupt your program to tell you that sometimes they'll come on with some sort of something that's been created by AI, and it's some personality or something that you recognize, but their lips don't look like they're moving quite right, and what they're saying just doesn't fit. Yeah, I'll tell you, honest to gosh, computers gives them a whole new avenue to scam these scammers out there, and quick. They can scam fast. Taking a look at our bonds and rates. We're falling yields today, guys. 10-year has fell 5.7 basis points to 3.78, and the U.S. 30-year has fell 4.6 basis points to 4.08. So we got falling yields today. That means they're in there buying bonds. Somebody's buying them. I'll tell you, when they really quit buying these bonds, when the jig's up on bonds, that's when gold is really going to shine, when the jig's up on this stuff. And this stuff's a racket. I know it's a racket. Everybody else knows it's a racket, but they'll buy it anyway because of greed. And kind of like training as well. they've been trained to search for yield, and bonds, your yield is baked into the cake almost on these things, because everybody wants yield. They don't want to have any. They want something that's secure as well, and they want something that they can look at. I know gold is secure and everything, but it hasn't traditionally been something that you look to it for a yield. And it's hard for people to change their way of thinking about things. See, face it, you can buy into a treasury bond, you know what you're going to get. But with gold, you buy into a big lump of gold, and heck, the price could fall. And then instead of yield, you're looking at loss. Taking a look at our dollar index today, we're seeing the dollar's down by half a penny, down by 4.45%. It's down at 101.38. Thank you guys for listening to my show. You guys have a great afternoon, and we'll catch you again very, very soon. Bye-bye.